Okay, so firstly, thank you for helping me with this interview.
You're welcome.
Um, and you are a male,
Yes,
and please can you tell me what kind of school you work for? Like a training school, public school, it's like that.
that's right. Yeah, so I work for a training center in Longhua, Shenzhen.
Okay, and how old are you?
I'm 30 years old.
You know.
I am.
How many years have you been teaching in China, Shenzhen?
It's been almost 11 years now.
Okay, and where are you from?
I'm from England, UK.
Okay, thank you. And
Sure.
can you hear the drilling?
No, I can't hear
Okay.
it at all.
Oh, that's good. Um, so the goal of this interview is for me to see your work and life balance the way that you see it through your own experience and get your opinions and what you think and feel about the topics we're going to cover.
Yes.
So, work life balance can be seen as juggling five aspects of our lives at any one point, which can be like work, family, friends, health, and spirit.
Yep.
Um, do I have your consent to take part in this interview?
You do?
Thank you. And is it okay for me to use our findings in my uh, paper?
Yeah, that's totally okay.
Thank you. Um, so first, please briefly tell me about yourself, like your background, any of your experiences on teaching in China, things like why did you come to China, when did you come to China, things like that.
Okay, so I came to China in 2012 with my brother and sister, and I started teaching in a very small training center here in Shenzhen. I taught there for 5 years, and then I went to another company and taught there also. I think I've taught in maybe four companies now in my 11 years in China. So my whole time here has been spent teaching.
Okay, thank you. And you said that you've worked for four different companies in 11 years. So they
Yes,
all be in training centres.
all of them were training centers. Yeah, actually, the first one was more of a daycare, but my job as the English teacher was to go part time and teach English. So it was also very similar to training center. Yeah.
Okay, so why did you come to China?
Well, I came together with my family to have a better life, to get some more opportunities. Um, we came so that we could basically get out of the rat race, get out of the 9 to 5, um, and come and have an easier life and have a better life.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So when you came to China, did you know that you was going to be a teacher?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Because that's what my brother did as well. He was a teacher in China, so that's why we came here so that we could teach
So was
together.
it relatively easy to find a job teaching English?
Very easy. Yeah. Very easy for native speakers.
Okay, thank you. So overall, do you like living and working in China?
Overall, yes, I do like living and working in China. It's a much easier lifestyle than living and working in England. The opportunities are better, and the lifestyle in general is easier. Um, it's just the hours and the days that we work sometimes are a little bit um, antisocial in a way. Working the evenings and working weekends, which
Yeah,
isn't something that we do in the UK really.
yeah. So you
Yeah.
mentioned that you can get a better lifestyle here.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that we have higher salaries here so that we have more cash flow. We don't need to be stressed and worried about money as much as we would in our previous lives in the UK.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you can hear the drilling, please tell me.
Yeah, I can't hear it at all.
Oh, brilliant. Um, So overall, how would you say your experience is living and working in China so far?
Overall, very positive. I think that shows by the length of time that I've been here, 11 years. Overall, it's very positive. Um, Teaching is a rewarding job. Um, the salaries are high. So overall, it's positive, yes.
Okay. Um, so you mentioned that you work in a training center.
Yeah.
How many hours do you work a week?
I do 45 hours per week at this current training center.
Okay.
It's 40 working hours and 5 hours is break times.
Okay. So it's 40 working hours.
Yes, yeah.
So does that mean that you're teaching for 40 hours?
No, so I actually do 21 teaching hours at the moment, and the rest of the hours is office hours.
Okay.
So yeah, it's from 1:30 in the afternoon till 9 p.m. That's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the weekend is our busiest time. We do 8:30 a.m. start to 7 p.m. finish on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you say that you have a good work-life balance at the moment?
Uh, I I wouldn't say so, no, just because the way that training centers work is it's after school training. So this is when the students are not in school. So it's after school and weekends, which means that we work till late in the evenings. And then at the weekends, when other people, they're out and they're having events, we'll be working from the morning till the late evening. So there's not much time to socialize. There's not much time to, go to the mall and do shopping and things like that.
Yeah, so would you say it's difficult for you to balance the life aspect?
It is difficult to balance the life aspect, yeah, because it's very difficult to match my schedule with my family's schedule, let's say, or my friend's schedule, because I'm working the evenings and the weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you could choose a perfect work-life balance for you, what would that look like? Like, for example, like how many hours would you work a week and things like that? How much vacation time would you like?
Yeah, so I actually really like what they're doing in France and the UK at the
Sorry,
moment.
sorry, wait.
What happened?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
The
hear you.
cat just ripped my headphones off.
It's okay, you can edit that bit out.
um, yes,
Yeah, so you asked me what would my perfect idea of a work-life balance be.
yeah,
Yeah, so I like what they're doing in France and the UK at the moment with the 4-day work week. Um, so yeah, I think that with my current job, I always complain that 2 days, it doesn't feel like enough time off. Um, so I think maybe 3 days off and less office hours. I think, in this industry, the classes are what's important. Um, I don't think that we should do so many wasted office hour time. Yeah. And that would obviously free up my time to spend with family and, spend with friends and, kind of improve myself in other aspects. It would free up time for that, for those things.
do you think that it would be possible for your company to implement a 4-day work
Absolutely,
week?
yes. I'm not sure about a 4-day work week, but it would definitely be possible for them to reduce the office hours.
Okay, so you'd still be working 5 days, but just less office hours.
Yeah, so maybe rather than 45 hours a week, they could cut it down to like 38, 37 hours a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, how does your company help you maintain a good work-life balance?
Um, well, actually, I don't think that they do. I think that the way that they see it is we're contracted for 40 hours and they want us to do every hour that we're contracted for. Um, we do get holidays. I think we get 5 days paid per year, but 5 days out of 365 isn't very many days. So
No.
I don't think that they do a great job of managing, but those things.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, do you often receive positive feedback from your employees?
No, not very often at all. Maybe I've been here now for maybe 15 months, and I've only received positive feedback from the actual management themselves maybe 3 times.
Okay. Do you often
Yeah.
receive negative feedback?
Yes, very often.
And how does that make you feel when you receive negative feedback? Does it make you feel motivated to do better or
No,
demotivated?
absolutely, yeah. So, because a lot of the feedback at this current company is so negative, then the motivation levels of the staff are very low, and that translates into the classes themselves. The quality of the class goes down because everyone's on a very low, energy level and low morale.
Yeah.
So it's actually very bad for everyone.
Earlier, you mentioned that you've been here for 11 years, and in that time, you've worked for four companies.
Yeah.
So what was the reason why you changed from company to company?
Well, I think with COVID, the last company that I changed to my current company was because of the pandemic. So the last company actually went bankrupt, which meant that I had to move, to a new company.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how about before that?
Before that, it was the same. I mean, um, companies only have a certain shelf life. So I'd be with a company for, 3, 4, 5 years. And then the boss and the management, maybe they want to move into a different industry or move to a different country. So, nothing lasts forever.
Okay, so yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Um, in your opinion, what can be done by your employers to help you gain a more balanced work-life balance?
Okay. Yeah. So this is, I think that they could reduce the office hours
Yes.
because reducing the office hours it wouldn't be a hindrance on the company or the students or the business itself. The only thing reducing the office hours would do is it would make the lives of the teachers easier, therefore making the classes better, in my opinion. So I think that they could reduce the office hours and also, give praise more than negative feedback.
Yeah, and you said reduce office hours, so does that mean that you would still keep some for the necessary preparation?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think the office hours should be like maybe 1 hour, 1.5 hours, not 4, 5 hours per day.
Yeah, do you find that in the office hours, you and your colleagues, who also are teachers,
Yeah.
you don't need that much time, so it's a
No,
waste?
it's a waste. Yeah. We like to actually, the time spent preparing the classes is only about 30 minutes. The rest of the time is spent, drinking coffee, watching YouTube videos. It's really, yeah, it's not time well spent.
Yeah, and do you think that that time that's not well spent is actually quite tiring because you're like waiting around or things like that?
Well, yeah, this is the next big issue that I see. So it's extremely tiring because if you get here at 1:30, but you don't start your class till 5:30, by the time 5:30 comes around, we all want to go to sleep. We don't want to, teach a class. So it's yeah, it's very tiring. Um, there was actually a time during the pandemic that they told us, okay, we don't need to do the office hours for this next week, just do the classes. And the quality of the classes vastly improved because we actually had the energy to do the classes properly.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And do you think that you'd be able to talk to like your manager about this maybe, or do you think that that wouldn't really be an option?
this the thing is with this company, it's quite a large company, so it's very difficult to talk to the right person. I can talk to one person, but that particular person doesn't have the power to change the rules. So it's very difficult to get in contact with the boss. My previous companies, they were much smaller companies, so I could speak directly to the boss. Um, that's another one of the issues here that um, I think it should be easier to talk to the actual head management about, complaints and things that we think that we can improve.
Yeah, so do you think that the structure of the company is quite confusing?
It's complex and confusing, yeah, it is.
Hmm. And do you think that if you could contact the boss, for example, that
Yeah.
you'd be able to like question your hours worked or the materials you're teaching, or is it generally like you get told what to do and then you just have to do it?
Yeah, it's absolutely top-down power. So
Yeah.
you get told what to do and you have to do it. I've heard, stories from other teachers that have tried to go that route of speaking to the, the top management, and they get told this is the policy, this is, these are the rules, and we just do it this way. There isn't much flexibility or leeway with the teachers.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
So at the moment, do you think that you work too much or too little?
too much, definitely too much. Yeah.
And so you mentioned before that that affects your social life because like you can't have the same schedule as your family and your friends and things.
Yeah, I think actually it affects every single aspect of my life because it feels to me that, the vast majority of my life, like 80% of it is spent at work. And 80% of that, the time that I'm at work, I'm actually not doing anything productive because it's these office hours. So it's just a lot of wasted opportunity and wasted time. Uh, and of course, that really negatively affects my family time and my time with friends.
Yeah. Do you think it also
Yeah.
affects your mental well-being because maybe it's like
Yes.
stressful and tiring? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. So I think that teaching in general is a fairly stressful job, especially when you're teaching younger students. So yeah, it can be very tiring, very exhausting, and I think that that does have an effect mentally as well, especially when you're spending so much uh, time on one thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Would you say that your company is quite flexible? For example, if you need a day off, how would your company deal with this?
Okay. So I think in this aspect, if I was to ask for a day off, I would be granted a day off, but begrudgingly, if you know what I mean. So I would get the day off, but they wouldn't be happy. Like I'd almost be shamed for asking for a day off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm. Um, oh, sorry, just lost my
no
place.
problem.
Whilst at work, do you feel like you're having a positive impact?
Yes, yes. I mean, my students and my classes, I have a good retention rate with my students, which means that when a student signs up, they tend to stay in my class and re-sign and continue with the course. So it shows that the students themselves are getting a positive impact and are actually learning the syllabus. Um, so yeah, I think generally the impact is positive. I just think that there's aspects of the job itself that could be tweaked.
And do you think that the job for you is fulfilling and meaningful for you?
No,
No.
no, 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 no. But
No,
I
no,
don't
no,
think.
no.
No, no. There's obviously days where it's quite a rewarding job. When you see one of your students is getting better, or they've learnt a new word, or they can finally say a sentence that you've been teaching them. So it's rewarding in that sense. But for me as a person, it's not really. I don't feel like I'm really growing as a person or anything.
No, so what would you say your main motivation is to go to work in a training center in China?
It's the financial motivation. I think that training centers in China are, the salaries are higher than the public schools or the kindergartens generally.
Yeah, so salary is at the top for you.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, Sorry.
It's okay.
What about you foreign teachers? Like,
Sorry, can you say that again? It's cutting out a bit now.
how do other people view foreign teachers in China?
Yeah, so I think that there's a bit of a wide spectrum on that, but um, I think generally it's a little bit looked down upon, especially not even from the Chinese population, but also from other foreigners, I think that other foreigners that come to China and that are not teachers, they have marketing jobs or, they do something else.
Yes.
They just assume that, oh, every, foreigner's a teacher and that's like a entry level job almost in China. Like that's the first rung on the ladder to be a teacher. That's the bottom of the barrel, basically.
And is that because people assume that teaching is easy and it's an easy job to get? Anyone can be a teacher kind of thing.
Yeah, I think because there's a low barrier to entry in teaching in China. So people assume because anyone can do it in quotations that the job itself is easy and that, it's kind of meaningless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that you get a fair salary?
Yes. I do think that my salary is fair. I wouldn't say that it isn't what I want. I would like a bit more, but I'm sure everyone wants a little bit more. Um, but it's fair, yes. I believe it's fair.
And so you're a native teacher, and
Yeah.
in your company, do you have other foreign teachers?
Yes.
And are they also natives?
Some are not. There's me and another native. The others are Europeans, but not strictly natives.
Okay, and do you all get the same salary?
No, actually, all our salaries are different.
Okay, do you think that that's fair?
No, I don't think it's fair because we do the same hours. We teach the same curriculum. Like our jobs are identical, so the salaries should be the same, in my opinion.
So why do you think that they are different?
Well, I think from a business standpoint, from the business's point of view, they know that they can pay non-natives less, so they're more than willing to do that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I also think that it's more about like when you apply for the job, when you interview for the job, it's about how you kind of negotiate your salary with the boss themselves. Your negotiation skills, which is also another thing that shouldn't be a factor. You shouldn't have to negotiate a salary. It should be this is what everyone gets.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What are the main benefits of working and living in China?
Well, the biggest one, I think, for everyone is the fact that, we're thousands of miles away from home. We're thousands of miles away from our families. Um, I think that's the biggest one for most people,
That's
because you can't just get in, you can't just get on a bus and go see your grandma or your grandfather or your father or your sister or, they're thousands and thousands of miles away. So that's the biggest one.
um sorry, is that advantage or disadvantage?
That's a huge disadvantage.
Okay.
Did you say advantages?
I did, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. What's a piece advantage being miles away from my family?
Thousands of miles.
Got a bus and see you.
So the advantages for me are especially living in the south of China in Shenzhen. So Shenzhen's a very modern city, but it's also a coastal city. So you can have a very lavish lifestyle here. You can go to the beaches. The salaries are high, um, and actually, like the quality of life is high as well. So I think that if I was back in Manchester in the UK, the salaries are also fairly high, but the cost of living itself is much higher than Shenzhen. So the quality of life here is far better, which is the biggest advantage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you ever work in England before you came to China?
Sorry, can you say again?
Did you work in did you work in England before you came to China?
Yeah, I did. I actually got my first job when I was 14. I was glass collecting in a local like public house pub in England, and then most of my jobs in England were in pubs, like bar manager and things like that. And then my last job before I came to China, I was working for a logistics company called TNT, which is a huge delivery company, basically. Um, and then, yeah, after working at TNT, I came to China with my sister.
How would you say the culture in the company is different from China?
The company culture, you mean? Hello?
Yes.
Yes, the company culture. Okay, so I would think that the company culture differs in the actual culture, I think.
Yeah,
Um, so China is a place that is known to be very hardworking. The people work hard, the people study hard. Um, England is also a hardworking place, but we value free time
mm,
and things much more than Chinese people do generally.
yeah,
So that also translates into the company side of things. So people that work in companies think that it's very normal to work 12, 13, 14 hours a day sometimes, where in England that's really not seen as a good thing or something to be proud of in a way.
yeah.
So I think that the workloads here are much higher, and that's seen as a normal thing and actually seen as a good thing, whereas it wouldn't be in the UK.
Yeah, so to say that working hard and for long hours is expected of you here, whereas it's not in the UK.
Yeah, and it is expected from the company, but also people see it as a good thing, like a social status, almost like, oh, I worked 15 hours or I worked 100 hours this week, and that's seen as an accomplishment or something that's that's good.
Yeah,
Whereas, yeah, that wouldn't be the case in England.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see a future in Shenzhen teaching?
Um, So I definitely see a future in Shenzhen. I think Shenzhen's one of the best cities in the world.
No, 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 sorry.
Um,
I mean teaching.
Teaching, yeah, I was getting to that. But no, I don't see a future teaching just because I've been doing it for such a long time. And I would like to, switch to a different industry and do something different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so how long did you stay in your current company?
Sorry, can you just ask the question again?
How long did you stay in your current
How long will I stay?
Yeah, can you not hear me?
Yeah, it's just cracking up a little bit. Um, so I plan to stay maybe another year at this current company, and then I plan to switch to another industry after this.
What do you mean by another industry? Something away from teaching?
Yeah, something away from teaching. I'm thinking that I want to, maybe start my own business, maybe do something online, or start my own brick and mortar business. I think that, yeah, after 11 years, it's time to try something different other than teaching.
And do you think that you have the opportunity to grow in your company, like up the organization ladder?
Uh, Technically, yes, but I don't think it would be anything substantial. Like, I have the opportunity to get a new title, to get a better title, but I don't think I have the opportunity to genuinely grow and generally properly be promoted. I think it'll just be like they'll give me a new title and more responsibility, basically.
Yeah, that's actually a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you ever feel burnt out at work?
Very often, yes. Yeah. Yeah, very often. Just because the job itself is quite draining.
Yeah.
Uh, Teaching kids, and then with all the office hours and all the preparation, and just the amount of hours themselves. I think it's like 176 hours a month. That is just spent here with with the office hours and with the students and with the planning and preparing. So yeah, it's very easy to get burnt out.
Yeah.
It comes very quickly.
Um, do you have an input on the materials that you teach? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Oh,
Oh,
sorry, it just turned off.
oh, it's all right.
All right then.
Um,
Okay, I'll just continue.
do you feel that you have um, an input on the materials that you teach?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Do you feel that you have an input on the materials that you teach?
No, very little actually, because we've got our own curriculum, our own syllabus. So
Okay.
it's already planned out, and there have been times in the past where I've suggested that we can tweak or we can change, and sometimes it might be accepted, but mostly not. No.
Okay. Why do you think you don't accept your input?
Um, I think it's I think it's because of the size of the company, basically. Um, I think it's been quite good for me because I've been able to see both sides of this industry. I've been able to work for very small companies and now a fairly large one.
Hmm.
And when I was working for the small companies, if I wanted, it was much, much, much easier to make changes in the small companies. But now with this large company, because they have so many students and so many teachers, one teacher trying to make a change is much more difficult.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Do you think that teaching in China is a stable or a lifelong job?
it's definitely not lifelong for most people. I mean, I have met people that are still teaching into their retirement age, but that's very, very few. I've been here 11 years and probably only met two people like that. So I think that people probably generally do it in the 20s and, early to mid 30s and then they move on.
Yeah, why is that, do you think?
I think it's due to a lot of factors, probably mainly because of the job itself. Um, I think that it's not an easy job to do, even in your 20s. So if you get into your 40s and 50s, it's too much of an active job to continue and into old age basically.
Yeah, because it's like too much energy using up and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, But if, for example, that you worked in a high school and it wasn't as active, it was more just teaching,
Yeah.
would you say that it was a long life job then?
Yeah, actually, it's interesting that you mentioned that because I think the teachers that do stay in general, they switch. So maybe they'll start in the kindergarten and the training centres, and then when they get older, they will switch to the universities or the public schools. So I think it's much more manageable um, in the actual, the actual teaching institutions like the public schools and universities.
Yeah.
Yes.
If if you wanted to stay and teaching for a lifelong job, um, does your company help you with things like a retirement plan and social security and things like that?
Would my company help me with that? Do you think?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it would do. I mean, they're legally obligated to do so anyway. It's part of the tax scheme. They need to pay the tax and the medical insurance and the social security and the pension. So that's already happening. Currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, are you integrated into China? Like, do you speak Chinese or have Chinese friends? Things like
No,
that.
it's really unfortunate because I really wish that this wasn't the case. But truthfully, no, I haven't integrated barely at all. I don't speak Chinese. I don't have very many Chinese friends. Um, and I wish that wasn't the case, but it is the case. So I haven't integrated very much at all. No.
Do you think it's an important part? Do you think, for example, that if you could speak Chinese and you had many Chinese friends or like relationships,
Yeah.
do you think that would influence you to stay in China for longer?
Oh yeah, I actually, obviously this is speculation because I haven't integrated, but I would assume that if you integrate and you become a part of like a community and you can speak the language and you form like a friend circle, I think that would raise the likelihood that you would stay longer. Yes.
Yeah. So, if
Yeah.
you had a friend who was considering China to be a teacher, what advice would
Yeah.
you give them to maintain a good work-life balance?
Making a good work-life balance. Okay, so I would tell them to don't rush into you know, um, don't rush into decisions when it comes to jobs. So basically, browse the market um, and try to get things as close to what your terms are as possible. Um, I think my biggest advice would just be to uh, negotiate as much as possible to get, fair work hours and fair holiday time.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you had your own school here and you was employing foreigners,
Yeah.
um, what would you do to retain your employers?
To repay them.
To retain them, so
Oh,
they would
yeah,
stay in your
retain. Yeah,
company.
yeah, yeah. Retain. Okay, so what I think I would do is try to make their lives as easy as possible. Not as easy as possible. That sounds like they're being lazy, but basically to streamline them as teachers with the company as seamlessly as possible. Don't make them, wait 5 hours before the class starts every day, things like that. So just make it more sensible. Try to make it so that they can still enjoy and have a fulfilled life and, work for the company. Give them both as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Participating in this interview. Thank
Sorry, one more time.
you very much for participating in this interview.
You're very welcome.
Is there anything that you'd like to add or
No, I actually think that the questions you asked really covered everything well.
yeah?
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
been really good.
Okay, I'll stop recording.
Okay, sounds good.